So I was at church on Sunday speaking at one of the local churches just after, obviously, Coventry lost the first leg of the football. I'm not going to mention it too much because I don't want to hear Carol and John crying. But one of the things I said to the congregation, I knew some of the people really well, and I said, during that match, were you 100% faithful to Coventry? At the beginning, it was simple. What is it? Push up Sky Blues, pull up Sky Blues, something like that. I don't know. They're Sky Blues, isn't it? Everybody's all excited. Then it goes a bit wrong, and it goes a bit right, and it goes a bit wrong again. John, were you 100% faithful throughout? You're allowed to say no, by the way. Carol won't hear you. Would you say
100%
always 100% faithful to Coventry? You remember I sat with you in men's breakfast yesterday? Do you want to change your answer? No. I was going around the room just asking a few people, and you can see some of the blokes were going, yes, 100% faithful, but not looking me in the eye. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're saying that because people are watching. But I knew there was one guy in our congregation, you cut him through, he's sky blue. So I said, Andy, were you 100% faithful? He said, yes. I said, even when that awful goal in the first leg, when it all went wrong, and then they were suddenly in the league, were you faithful? And his son turned, and his son was just going, because his son knew he was faithful. And it brought to mind this, because Israel, every time they face something that's a bit difficult or a bit disappointing, or not as perfect they want it to be, they turn away. They make the easy option. They choose something that they think will give a better outcome. They're not faithful to God. And we can see that in this, they're worshipping Baal or Baal or whatever they're calling it. Not Gareth Bale, we don't have to worry. It's Baal, and they've got all their little statues, and they're worshipping him because they think he is the answer. Although we know God is the answer, for them it was like, well, he keeps letting us down. Things keep getting, yeah, he does some good stuff, but it's not good all the time. And so as soon as something goes wrong, they go, well, yeah, he's all right. We like him, we'll keep with him, but to hedge our bets, we're going to go with Baal as well. And God obviously is going one way or no way, 100% faithful or not. And I think some of the church today, some of community today can be very half-hearted. We can commit to something, and then when it gets a little bit difficult or a little bit embarrassing, then all of a sudden we back away and we support something else. And that's what I'm asking about Coventry. Coventry have been through periods when, and I can remember going to many 0-0 wins for Coventry when it was Highfield Road. And the chants coming from the stands were not particularly nice about the players. Then the next week, when they win, the same players are brilliant. And that was a lovely face, Carol. Carol's bitter, moving on quickly.
Carol never ever criticises. She always considers that the players are somebody's son. She never, I can honestly say, she is 100% faithful to both sides.
Good. Right. But I can remember my dad was always 100% faithful. I get dragged to Coventry City most weeks. I'd be counting the cigarette stubs and how many pickings there were. Because it was dire. There was periods when Coventry were dire. It wasn't about being promoted, it was about not getting relegated. And as well as other people were very excited about being there, I was thinking Liverpool playing, I could go and listen to that. I wasn't faithful. And I think in the world today it's too easy for us to lose our faith, for 100% faith in something. And so this passage kind of deals with that. And then I'm suddenly meet Daniel, who we saw a minute ago, and I was just inspired by this young man. I realise he's a young man because I'm an old man. But he's come, and I was asking questions. Obviously his English is amazing. He apologised for his youth. He said, I'm so sorry my English isn't very good. The fact he could say that, and I couldn't even say hello in Ukrainian, was a bit embarrassing. But I said, do you have hope? And he said he had hope in Jesus. But he had a hope in his people. He had hope that something good would come out of it. And it'd be so easy to go, you know what, this just isn't worth it. He's sure that all of the arguments are over historical stuff, and that a certain Russian wants to take over part of Ukraine, if not all of it. And it'd be so easy to go, you know what, he's going to do it anyway, what's the point? But he said, I'm staying faithful. God has told me to do this, and that's what I'm going to do. And I was asking him, I said, you know, I've seen pictures of your church. He showed me a little video of when Michael and the team went to Ukraine, and they're all worshipping and singing and having a lovely time. And then you saw the outside of the building. I said, how old is your building? And he said, well, actually, it was a factory during the Soviet Union. So it was a very old building, it was deserted. So we took the middle bit and turned it into a church. I said, brilliant. He says, and then he goes onto Google Maps, he's brilliant. He's all excited. And he said, this bit, as Michael told you about the water project we did, and I've shared with some of you that they found a well under the ground and they now provide water for tens of thousands of people in the area. And I said, yeah, he said, well, that's the bit we do it in. We took a bit more factory, and in faith we built that, and we're helping all these people. And it would be so easy to go, oh, that's too much hard work. He's only got a bonnet, it's only going to get blown up. What's the point? But he trusts that God will look after it. And he said, in the Ukraine, we have a problem with young people. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, they've got nothing to do. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to gather. I think it sounds like Coventry to me. You know what I mean? There's nowhere for young people to do something positive. And I said, so what are you telling me? He said, well, what we're going to do, he says, the church is here, and the water place is there. He says, on the other side, he said, that's going to be where we build the two-floor youth centre. So even though there's bombs going off, there's drones going over, there's drones being dropped into their car park, they're investing in what God says is coming. So there's no use going, look, we're all going to hide until this is all over. Then we'll see what's left. They're saying, well, actually, no, we're going to do it anyway. And he showed me this amazing plans and pictures, and he said, he brought up his WhatsApp on his phone. He said, look at that. I thought, it's in Ukrainian, mate. I don't know what I'm looking at. He said, there are 80 young people on that WhatsApp group. It's called Future Church. He says about 3 people on that list go to church. The other 77 have no contact to church, but they come into our building. And we want to build a building for them. Not for our church, for them. Because we believe God will call them into the church. And so they're putting, he told me, but it wasn't in pounds and ounces. He told me how much money it was going to cost. But they have faith that God will protect it. And that God has got a purpose for it. And he's investing in the next generation of young people. Rather than just sticking his head in the sand and going, well, yes, I'm a Christian, but at the moment this horrible man's attacking us. He's not choosing the easy route. He's not choosing Baal. And I believe God is calling us to do the same. I've completely lost my place. The thing I was thinking was that when do we 100% follow God? When do we go, not sure it's that easy? Longford, John and some of the people from their church, how many years ago did you start the build?
It's going to be like 10 or 12 years, isn't it? When we first looked to do it, and then we raised the money, and then we changed the plans, until eventually COVID came and we got part of the work done. But then when we looked to finish it off, it was just so expensive, we thought we'd never ever get it done.
So I can remember when I used to go to Longford when I first went there, it was a lovely room, lovely chapel where they met, very dark wood. If you were over about 5'3", there was a sign that said, mind your head, as you went up to preach. And it just felt old. But they'd got a plan. They kept showing me these plans on the wall. This is what we're going to do. And then they did half of it, and that's right, then we're going to do this bit. And as John said, COVID struck. And it'd be too easy to go, well, we're happy with this. Let's not worry about that bit. I know we've got plans, but let's worry about this. But no, they kept going and praying and doing a bit and praying. And now there's a little team of them who are doing what they can. God's provided them with the skills. Practical skills that go, do you know, we can't do that, but God, what about if we did this? And it'd be so easy to go, you know what? Look, we can't. Church is tough, life's tough at the moment, everybody's struggling, let's just be satisfied with what we got. But instead, they're going, let's do what we can do, and let's see if God blesses the rest. And I think that's what this passage tells us. You know, God's saying, right, you lot, I've given you everything I can give you, and all I've asked for is 100% support. And you've all gone, yeah, okay. But on Friday, Baal's doing this, I think I'm going there. He doesn't want that. He wants us to be fully God, not edging our bets elsewhere. I just want to encourage you. Life isn't easy. Life's tough. Things goes on. Things happen. But God wants us to be committed to Him. That relationship, through good, through bad. God doesn't promise it's going to be easy, but He does promise He'll be with you. And yet most of the time when that relationship breaks apart, who is it that turns around? Many of us will be turning away, doing our own thing. And I want to encourage you that whatever we do, as long as we do it 100%, we give it our best. God calls us to do something. He doesn't call us to do everything. He calls us to do the bit we've got to do 100%. So wherever you are, whether you're not a Christian, whether you're a Christian just starting your journey, whether you've been a Christian forever, what's God saying to you? You know, there's so many times in the story of Elijah, and Elijah could go, hang on, mate, well, I said I'd do this, this and this. Now you want me to set fire to things and call down on you and pour water over it first? But he goes, okay, I'll do it because I believe in my God. I'm not worried about their Baal. I trust in my God. And when you think about that act of killing the oxen and laying it out and covering everything in water, we all know if it's wet, it won't catch fire. He's so confident in God. And God will do what He tells him He'll do. He pours water and water and water and then stands back. You can imagine all those who are following Baal going, that's not what I want. And he goes, God, stand to you, mate. Sets on fire. And at that point, people believe. My prayer is that it doesn't get to that point. And that all of us, even if we're having doubts or it's just easier not to bother, remember the stories of Elijah and throughout the Bible of where God has kept His promise and all He asks for is our support. I believe that building that Daniel's building is going to be amazing. And wouldn't it be brilliant to know there's 77 kids, plus the 3 are already Christians, actually use that building. It's there to be set up for sports, it's set up for food. He said they can just walk in, make themselves a drink, make themselves a sandwich, hang out, do homework. It's kind of what we want to do here. I have been doing it for so long. But that's not what happens in Ukraine. You don't do that. When I told him we've got a gardening project, he kind of went, you're teaching people to garden. Well, don't everybody do that? Because that's what happens in another country. But he was taking everything we do that he could learn and using it to better his community, better his people, better his church, because it's 100% committed. And I just want to encourage you that if you're feeling you can't, get somebody to pray with you, because you can. God will be with you, just that you have to trust in Him 100%, even when it gets tough. And then things will change. Won't be easy, won't be overnight, but things will change. And I hope the next time Michael goes out to Ukraine and we send more stuff, we'll start hearing stories of that building being built and things being changed. Because I know when Longford have finished doing the mortar, they've got plans. It's not just to have a pretty building. They've got plans on what to do with it. And that's why my prayer this afternoon is that we can get the cafe sorted. Because when you think of the amount of things that happen in here related to all the other projects, I believe God wants this place buzzing again. But if it falls like this, it might not be possible. So please keep praying, but 100% commit to God, because he knows what he can do with you. Bless you. Wonderful.